like to call to order the open agenda meeting for the Scotch Plains Fanwood Board of Education, November 12th, 2015. Mrs. Saradaki, could you please call the roll?
Dr. Clancy?
Here.
Dr. Kulikowski?
Here.
Mr. Murray? Mrs. Shermer?
Here.
Mr. Whitehouse?
Here.
Mrs. Winkler?
Here.
Mrs. Warner? Mrs. Cleary?
Here.
Mrs. Bauer?
Here.
Quorum is present.
Thank you. Please join us in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The board just met in executive session and discussed personnel, HIB, suspensions and detentions, and that was what we discussed. The notice for this meeting was given to the Borough Clerk of Fanwood, the Township Clerk of Scotch Plains, the Scotch Plains Time, and the Patch. We have two additions to the agenda, I think, right? We have 6S, which is the Winter Guard, and we have 18 BUS, which is construction change orders. Okay, in accordance with Scotch Plains Fanwood Public School bylaws 0164 and 0165, we have the opportunity for the public to come to the microphone. If anybody would like to speak, give us your name and the town in which you reside. Okay, seeing no one, it's time for committee reports. Anyone? Mrs. Winkler.
It's not exactly a committee, I guess, but I serve as the liaison to the Union County School Boards Association. So on November 4th was our regular meeting, and at this meeting we had Kimberly Harrington, who is the Chief Academic Officer as well as an Assistant Commissioner at the Department of Education for the state. So she came in to talk about Common Core and state standards. Interestingly, she didn't say a whole lot about Common Core. She talked about the state review board for the New Jersey core content. I'm not getting that third C.
Core curriculum.
Core curriculum content standards. The review, she talked about the review process. She talked about the way they set up their committee structure to review these standards. She sounded very knowledgeable on what she was doing, but I couldn't help questioning why we're reevaluating the state standards when we've moved to the Common Core. Somebody did ask a question about it, and she defined sort of the difference between the state standards versus the Common Core, but didn't really go any further than that. It was an interesting presentation.
Okay. Thank you for representing us. I think there were several people who were
Few of us there.
so thank you. Anyone else with a report?
I do have the curriculum committee report.
Okay.
We met on November, 2nd, I believe. Yes, November 2nd, and we met with Dr. Heisey to discuss the high school program of studies, additions and changes. Mridula Bajaj, our science supervisor, and Linda Materna, our world language supervisors, they were both in attendance. Dr. Heisey gave us an update on the Effective School Solutions program at the high school and discussed possible modifications which may enhance the student's experience. He is going to get back to us with some additional information based on requests we made, so we'll have an update at a later time. Mridula Bajaj presented the committee with ideas regarding how to best address the requirements for the inclusion of physics, which will be mandatory starting in the next academic year. Presently, it's available to students, but is not a requirement, and students in their junior year can select another science-based course. So with that being said, a lot of work is going into determining how that will look next year, and she will make a report to the full board will be made as things are firmed up a little. She just wanted to present us with some of that initial information and some of her initial thoughts on the idea. Linda Materna did present a request for a change to the level of the current Spanish for Heritage speakers. The course is presently an academic-based course, and we'd like to move it to an accelerated course due to the rigor of the course itself and the abilities of the students that are taking it. This would best meet the needs of the students in the class. There was also a request for a second course for the Spanish Heritage Experience that will provide an interesting way for the native speaker to have a more developed sequence in their high school experience. That course will not be sequential. They'll actually be able to either take one or the other, which will actually allow greater flexibility with programming, so more students will have access to it, which is a good thing. The curriculum committee does recommend that the board approves change of the course from academic level to accelerated level as requested. That's my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Whitehouse?
Thank you. I have two reports, facilities and finance. I'll start with facilities. We met last night. Right now, concerning the paving of Park Middle School, that right now there's not an answer yet from the county regarding approval to move forward because this is considered an emergent project, and therefore it's they're trying to guide us as to how to handle it. So because the money was not included in this year's budget, it's going to go forward. It's just a question of the timing and when the approval. So just when you thought you had enough weight in paperwork, they had a little bit more. About a month ago, Mr. Thomas Hargreaves, he donated his father's greenhouse to the school district. It's approximately 30 feet long, and it's going to be, actually it has been installed in the courtyard in the high school. So that's very exciting that our science teachers have already expressed their excitement to the business office, and I think possibly the administration writ large, as to all the wonderful things they're looking forward to do with this greenhouse. The fact that it's in the courtyard serves a couple of purposes. For one, protection that from vandals or just the elements that it's going to be contained. And secondarily, I personally think it's a nice opportunity because, as a reminder for all our students who have classes that face during the course of their day the courtyard, and they'll be able to see just all the good things there. It may spark an interest, who knows. Next, comprehensive maintenance plan for the district facilities. It's 5 BUS on our agenda, and the Facilities Committee is recommending approval to authorize the submission of the 2015-17 plan. Comprehensive maintenance plan, in a nutshell, is just what the expectations are as we sit here today as to what has taken place in our different buildings, as well as what the plans are moving forward. The final thing in facilities that we discussed was the opening of the bids regarding the additions to Evergreen and McGinn. I'm happy to report for the Facilities Committee that the contractor's name is Bennett, and their total bid is $3,764,000. That is 9 BUS on our agenda. The Finance Committee is, Facilities, but in 2 minutes I'll put on my finance hat, and we too will be endorsing the approval of this tonight. The good news is this is approximately $750,000 less than we were expecting. As was mentioned earlier by Mrs. Saradaki, there were 8 bidders. There was a lot of interest in this, and the more bidders you get, the more competition there is, and the pencils were sharpened to our benefit. So that's it from facilities. Finance also met that evening. Because facilities and finance are so closely linked, we went through the same items again for the one person who's not on both committees. And again, finance as well endorses all the things that I just talked about from facilities. Additionally, within finance, again, Mrs. Saradaki was happy to report to our committee, which I'm happy to share now, steal some of her thunder. This past year was the first year that our school district participated in the Educational Data Service. Again, it's another consortium, a purchasing consortium. The cost to us was $12,900. The savings that we had was $129,261. Anytime you can get 1,000% return on your investment, well done, Mrs. Saradaki. We'll be looking for 6 numbers for you for the next lottery pick, if you can do that again as well. So anyway, so a lot of times these purchasing consortiums do serve districts well. This one was an easy one to quantify, and the first year was, what a payback. So yay us, yay business office. Next, 10 BUS on tonight's agenda, and we'll be asking for approval, and finance is recommending the amount of $95,000 for Potter Architects to oversee the construction projects at McGinn and Evergreen. Next, we're looking for, the business office is looking for a transfer of capital reserve funds of $100K. That's 12 BUS on tonight's agenda, which we will be voting on tonight. This is to cover permits, soil testing, concrete testing, steel testing, etc. All things related to construction wrapped around Evergreen and McGinn. These are all items that have been shared with us as a committee and the full board over the past bunch of months. It's now time, as we're ready to, the rubber to hit the road, to start dispersing and contracting these folks. Next week, we'll be getting an RFP for a construction manager for the Evergreen and McGinn additions. Again, this was discussed as well. This is 11 BUS on our agenda because we won't be opening it until next Tuesday. It won't be obviously voted on tonight. The expectation is it's going to come in about $150K. And this will, again, this was a recommendation of Potter Architects to have someone on site because there's 2 construction sites happening simultaneously and being overseen by the same construction company. We don't want any hiccups moving forward. This position will be there to ensure safety, compliance, as well as timeline. So again, next week we'll be asking for a vote, but this was just more of a heads up. And again, if you're following along on the agenda, 11 BUS. Finally, in finance, we went over the corrective action plans as a result of the audit. If you recall, last month we received our audit report from Novicia, our auditors, and there were 3 items to be addressed. All were very, very minor. We did go through them, and in fact, I think each board member has a copy of that at their place. That is 4 BUS, and I don't think we have to vote on that till next week. Correct. So those are my reports. Again, there was a lot of stuff is now finally coming to fruition, and well done again. Thank you, Ms. Saradaki. Again, this is the district is going to really reap the fruits of this hard work that for the past number of months. Dr. Hayes, as well, under your leadership, I think not only will this serve the district well, however the space should be used, but as we are now seeing the dollars that are coming in, I don't want to call it a bargain, but it is much less than we thought because the timing is such we are getting, it was very competitively bid. So that concludes my report.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any other reports, committee reports? Okay, the instructional update on the Chrome initiative will be next week. And we have 3 letters to the board. All 3 were referred to executive session, one from Shannon Pacheco, one from Nancy Marion, and one from Leslie Franco. And that brings us to the superintendent's report. Dr. Hayes?
Thank you, Mrs. Bauer. 1S at our next meeting, I will be asking that the board approve the either out-of-district placements or the additions to the out-of-district placements. In some case, it's adding additional aid coverage for a student, and in another case, it's a change in placement. So we'll be asking for approval at our next meeting. 2S, we will be asking that the board approve the superintendent's decisions in the 6 harassment, intimidation, and bullying cases that were reported during the executive sessions in October. 3S, we will be asking for field trip approvals. One is for Terrell Middle School 8th grade Italian students to visit Florence Ravioli right here in Scotch Plains, and the other is for our elementary Quest students to attend the Brain Bowl at Cranford Community Center. And the final one is our high school students, approximately 10, are going to be attending the Future Business Leaders of America State Conference in Atlantic City in February. 4S, in conjunction with the report that Mrs. Cleary gave from curriculum, we are recommending that the Board of Education approves Spanish for Heritage Speakers as an accelerated course.
There's not an asterisk there, but I think you said that you wanted that voted on tonight or not?
Would that be helpful, Dr. Mast, in terms of moving forward with the high school curriculum?
Yes.
For sure? Yes, we can do that
That'd be very
tonight if
helpful.
you would be so kind.
So move. Second.
Okay, that's a roll call.
Yes.
Mrs. Winkler?
Yes.
Dr. Kulikowski?
Yes.
Dr. Clancy?
Yes.
Mrs. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Whitehouse?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleary?
Yes.
Mrs. Bauer?
Yes.
Thank you very much. 5S is under co-curricular. We are recommending that the Board of Education approve the expansion of the boys lacrosse program to include a freshman boys team. The number of students that are coming out for lacrosse has increased, particularly on the side of the boys, and so it warrants adding that additional opportunity. And we can vote on that next meeting because that won't happen until the spring. But on 6S, which was the addition to the agenda, I am recommending that the Board of Education approve Winter Guard as a stipended co-curricular activity. Winter Guard grew out of the band front position, but for many years has continued on after marching band season ends. The Winter Guard continues, and they meet and they compete through the winter months. And in the past, that has been a volunteer position, but it has existed for a number of years, and at this point, we do believe that it merits being stipended.
So
this-
moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose?
Okay, and then I would ask that the board approve the personnel agenda as discussed in exec this evening.
So move. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Oh, yeah, roll
Roll
call.
Dr. Kulikowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Winkler?
Yes.
Dr. Clancy?
Yes.
Mrs. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Whitehouse?
Yes.
Mrs. Cleary?
Yes.
Mrs. Bauer?
Yes.
And that concludes my report.
Okay, wonderful, thank you very much. So Mrs. Saradaki, I don't know if you want to group the ones we're voting on or just go through and do them as we
Well-
come to them.
We can go through them in
Okay.
case there's any questions.
All right?
1BUS, I would like the board to approve the staff training on the superintendent's recommendations and report dated November 12th, 2015.
So move. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
2BUS will be acknowledgement of the receipt of disbursement listings for the month of October 2015. 3BUS will be the receipt of the security and fire drill reports for the month of October 2015. 4 BUS is the 2014-15 Audit Corrective Action Plan. 5 BUS is the Comprehensive Maintenance Plan and M1 reports. I would like to ask the board to authorize submission of the 2015 to 2017 Comprehensive Maintenance Plan and M1 reports.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
17. I'm sorry I missed that.
I made the
Okay.
motion.
Thank
Karen
you.
seconded it. We all said aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
6 BUS is related services through private vendors for the 2015-16 school year. These are from First Children, Spectrum Consulting, and Preferred Home Health Care and Nursing. 7 BUS is the facilities agreement with Behavior Therapy Associates. Behavior Therapy Associates has used Cole School for several years, has rented the school from us during the summer for a small program that they run. And they would like to continue during the summer of 2016. 8 BUS is the approval of affiliation agreement with Newmark School in Scotch Plains. This agreement for the 2015-16 school year is essentially the same as the agreement we have with Lidcombe Tech, where graduates can come and work as interns with our technology department.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, the next ones I would like to group since they're all related. 9 BUS is the award of the bid for construction of additional classrooms at Evergreen and McGinn. We had 8 bids that were opened 2 days ago. The bids have all been approved, reviewed and approved by both our architect and our board attorney. And the lowest bid was Bennett the Bennett Company, in the amount of $3,764,000. Additionally, I'd like the board's approval on 10 BUS for the architect to oversee the additions at McGinn and Evergreen, and that would be Potter Architects in the amount of $95,625. Both of these amounts would need to be transferred from capital reserve. And 12 BUS, the transfer of capital reserve funds in the amount of $100,000 for miscellaneous expenditures, including permits, soil testing, etc. Any excess funds from this amount would be returned to capital reserve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of 9, 10, and 12 BUS?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
11 BUSs will be next week because we'll be opening the request for proposals at that time for the on-site construction management services for the 2 projects. That allows generally an engineer to be on-site for the number of hours. We have requested 2 options in that. One option, they would be on-site 4 hours a day, and the other option, they'd be 4 hours at each site. The other option is 2 hours at each site per day. And when we see the results of that, we'll determine what the best option would be. 13 BUS will be the award of professional services agreement for legal services for special education. We will be conducting interviews on Monday night, and hopefully there'll be a conclusion as to the best person to bring forward for that. 14 BUS is the acknowledgement of the bus evacuation drills. These are required twice a year. The bus drills for the first occurrence will be completed by tomorrow. 15 BUS is the maintenance and support of district printer agreement. I'll have that cost for you next week. We were able to negotiate with Stewart Business, and there'll be a 0% increase. 16 BUS is recommendation of the Board of Education acknowledges receipt of the Board Secretary report, Treasurer of School Funds reports, and budget adjustments for the month of October 2015. And 17 BUS is the bill list for the period October 17th to November 13th, 2015.
And 18 BUS?
Oh, I'm sorry. 18 BUS will also be voted on next week. We have construction change orders. The first two items are from Spartan Construction, and that was the waterproofing on Park Middle School. They are charging us an additional $2,000, and this is all within the contingency, $2,656 because of the size of the cracks in the foundation. There was extra grinding on the foundation and patching that had to be done. And the project is complete, and out of our contingency, $9,917 will be refunded. And with Kalen Heating with the rooftop HVAC units, and that was from a year ago. He is sometimes very slow with his paperwork, but out of the contingency, $73,739 are being returned to the district.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Saradaki.
You're welcome.
That brings us to board policies.
Yep, we have several that are here. I'd like to ask the board to approve second and final reading for the following policies. Number 3212, attendance for teaching staff members, as well as 4212, which is attendance for support staff members. 5305 is health services personnel. 5306 is health services to non-public schools, as well as the regs that go with that, 5306. 5308, student health records and the regs that go with that. 5310, health services and the regs that go with that. And 8505 is the wellness policy, nutrient standards for meals and other foods. And that we approve rescinding the following policy, 1522, school level planning, which is no longer required because much of what's in it is elsewhere in our policies.
Okay. So we'll be voting on that next week. New board business? Other board business? Requests to attend workshops or workshop reports? Okay, well, I wanted to just say, a number of us were at the New Jersey School Board's meeting, and there were a lot of, I think, very beneficial sessions that everyone attended, from law to curriculum, all kinds of areas, and we all heard, the commissioner was there speaking. There was a panel of legislators. It was co-sponsored by Garden State Coalition of Schools. And for me, one of the most interesting presentations was related to technology and the importance of student voice in our technology decisions. I would say that's true for all our decisions, and I think I know often on curriculum when I served there were feedback from students about the texts that were being chosen and input from students. But anyway, that was, I think, a very interesting session. So I think it was very worthwhile for all of us who attended. Approval of the minutes?
That'll be next week.
Right, I'm just
Oh,
sort
okay.
of saying, and I'm sorry. Okay. This is another opportunity for the public, 0164, 0165, Scotch Plains Vanwood policies. Seeing no one, what about the good of the order? Anyone have anything for the good of the order?
Nice new artwork.
Yes,
Beautiful.
it is. It's so nice to have it back. Well, before we adjourn, I think it was so exciting tonight that we had so much good news.
Yes,
So
that's right.
I want to say that how exciting is it that our new purchasing agreement saved, I think you said 1,000% savings?
10 times.
And we're saving $750,000 on the construction. An exciting new opportunity with Spanish for native speakers in the district. And then we had a greenhouse donated, and we'll have some exciting things going on in the center of the high school. So a lot of good news from tonight's meeting. So on that note, can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.